Hello, so today's going to be kind of like an average LILLIA game, in my opinion. So I think this is going to be like a 7 mythic variation, if I'm not mistaken. LILLIA is very strong, and I think LILLIA you can kind of play for a lot of placements a lot of times. I feel like it's one of the few lines that if you're contested, so long as you find a LILLIA, you can find something to stabilize around. Because you're so willing to play different frontline units and different backline units. That there's different variations of the comp, that it's really the only like flexible one. I would say like some of the other ones are flexible, obviously, and some of the other lines, like, it just takes a lot of effort to know what can switch in the board, and it takes a lot of awareness in terms of like understanding that relative to the lobby, like especially with like Syndra, for example. A lot of times you can play like Nautilus Silas in place of like Dryads, but it's very situational in my opinion. But just stuff like this. In this LILLIA game, I think I'm going to be like 3-way contested. Usually when you're playing a 4-cost, you don't want to be more than like a 4-cost, you can be contested by one person, right? Like a 4-cost comp usually supports 2 players, but 3 players is when it gets really risky. But I think a lot of the times if you have AP items and you don't have like a good Syndra spot, a lot of times you kind of have to play towards LILLIA. So because there's not many other options in terms of like 4-cost, right? You can't really carry around Morgana. You can't really swap easily between the 2 lines, right? So a lot of times like your opener kind of decides. If you have AP items and a not so good opener, it's like you're either committing reroll or committing LILLIA. So in this case, it's Crabrave. Like I say, a lot of the time whenever you're playing these high variance or more higher variance portals, so Crabrave particularly, there's like the potential to really high roll or low roll. Whenever you're playing something like that, I usually tend to lean towards a LILLIA style comp anyways, just because there's lots of things you can hit with LILLIA comp that will make you go really strong, right? Like there's a lot of things on level 9 that you can play. You can play Azir, you can play Hui. You have like a good amount of options. Here I start with Silver Spoon. I like taking Silver Spoon. There's so many. Every time I take Silver Spoon, I hit like a 4-cost really early. Like the extra XP and just seeing a couple better shops really helps a lot. And I think that like just having an extra unit in without having to invest much gold, I think it just works out really well, especially if you're playing towards like a 4-cost board. Here the Exalted, let me see, Azir Nautilus. Okay, so I can probably play if I play LILLIA, I can also fit in Exalted. This is just a really good like LILLIA style game. My items are very generic right now. I don't have to really slam anything. If I want to, Protector's Vow is kind of awkward to slam because you really want to hold on to these tiers for your carry, because you might never hit another tier. And then you don't want to burn Rod, so I can't really slam anything. I could make Crown Guard if I really want to. I think this fight I win anyway, so I'm not slamming items, right? Oh, sorry, I'm circling stuff, but I don't think my inking is working because I didn't reset it. Okay, there we go. Because I beat this guy anyways, a good habit is to slam items at the start of the fight rather than before the fight, right? You see who you're playing, you see who like you should itemize, and you can also like figure out exactly what you wanna play, right? I think in my team planner I had like Bard reroll. That was from a Bard video I made a couple days ago or something. Yeah, because these were all like played on stream in the same session. I'm just trying to put in like strong units here. I wouldn't mind putting in like a mythic. I'm just holding on my bench whatever I could. I think the best thing to play, yeah, I was gonna say if I put in a Volibear, I get Ink Shadow, which just gives me +1 item. So it's probably a little bit stronger than this Sivir. Sivir gives attack speed and does a bunch of damage, and it is an upgraded unit. But I think the extra item is pretty strong. Here I probably should have slammed an item if I wanted to keep my streak. I think this guy's a little bit stronger than me, but I think I should be fine. Like I think I still beat him. Right? He slammed items and he has 5 Story Weaver. I'm basically trying to like right now. I'm not really like hard committing to any one line in particular. But the 2 options I'm thinking of right now are either Story Weaver or what's it called? Story Weaver, because I already have like the Story Weaver units upgraded, so I can keep them on my board for a while. Or I'm committing to like a LILLIA board, right? Like I said, I don't have Dryad in early. I don't have like a good Faded opener. Now I hit the Annie, which I can really play around with if I play LILLIA. It's just kind of expensive to hold on to. Should I buy it? Let's see. Do I make Econ anyways? I'd probably have to sell Sivir. Ooh, it's a little bit awkward. I might not buy this Annie. Like, right? Because the thing is, I can make 20 gold this turn, and then I'll be like really rich for the rest of the game. If I buy the Annie, I don't think I can make 20 gold easily. Right? Without selling something. Yeah, now I'm just holding on bench. I'm just confused. Because you don't want to sell the Garen because the Story Weaver is really strong. Oh, this guy's an even stronger Story Weaver. Oh, boy. I'm trying to make item. You saw the item pop, so I thought I made Crown Guard already, and I didn't. But that's my bad. Like, when I tried to put on the Garen, it didn't go on. Yeah, but I just lose really hard to this guy. He has upgraded. He has Kale. It's like me, but stronger. He has Kale and Sivir and Garen both upgraded, and an Amumu, which is just like an insanely strong tank early. Just unfortunate. I'm holding on to his Annie that I didn't make Econ now. That's a little bit of a misplay. I think I should have played towards I should have had the what's it called? I should have put Annie in and probably sell one of the 1-stars. Even the Tattoo of Bombardment on Senna isn't that important. I could have even sold Volibear. I could have probably still made 20 while holding on to the Annie. Ooh, that's a little bit of a... I think Nautilus is good here. I think Nautilus is fine. Nautilus and a Cloak. A Cloak isn't the best item, but it's not that bad because in worst case scenario, I can always make Adaptive Helm. So it's not the end of the world. It's just not the most ideal item set. Now I hit Story Weaver here. Could I fit in everything? I should be able to fit in everything, right? Annie and then Story Weaver in for this guy because I don't need it. Yeah, there we go. Now my board's strong as fucking shit, but everybody else spiked off their 4 cost, so it's gonna be a little. I might still not streak. I take Green Kale because it's the strongest earliest in my opinion. I'm not sure exactly how like crazy Green Kale is late game, but especially for right now, just giving myself Shred is really nice. Because I messed up my Crown Guard slam, I could also just slam a Gargoyle Stone Plate here, which is pretty fine. Right? And I can make 20, which is important. Make 20, make 30. I could have made 20 last turn, so it's just a little bit awkward. I'm holding on to this Alawi because I think Alawi is just like really good for late game. I don't think I can make Econ by selling my bench, so it's fine to hold the Alawi, right? If it was between Econ and holding this Alawi, it's sell the Alawi always. But now I'm very strong. It just sucks I got my streak snapped a little bit, but it's okay. You always have to account that I took kind of like an Econ augment or so, right? I gained a bunch of EXP, so it started me off a little bit higher level, so I'm in not too bad of a spot here. But what I would like to see myself make a Stone Plate, right? It's not that bad because like a lot of times you hold on to this Cloak because you're maybe making Spark, right? Right, I'm not really gonna make Adaptive Helm with this if I'm playing towards LILLIA, and Spark isn't that great until later in the game because like I already picked Green Kale, as well as when you're playing LILLIA, you usually want a Shiv, you usually don't want Spark, but you know, we'll see how it plays out. This guy got an Ornn, so this is what I mean by this guy's Syndra spot's really good, as opposed to like if I was playing towards Syndra. Obviously this guy has like an Ornn that's like really high roll, but like a lot of times you just want Dryad in early, right? If you don't have Dryad in early, the game becomes very, very complicated if you're playing around Syndra. Especially now that they nerfed the Syndra damage a little bit, you have to be very particular, I find. Right? Like the nerf that they made to Syndra doesn't really change anything, besides the fact that now if you don't have like... I find that if you don't have like a really good spot, it turns into like an 8th really fast. Right? Like things can get out of hand really fast is what I mean to say. This is really awkward. I would love to get Mythic stacks on the Nautilus, but with the Story Weaver start, it's pretty good. This is something that often happens with LILLIA boards. I'm not doing the whole tab out of the LILLIA game because I kind of want to talk about... I think a lot happens in the mid games of this. Actually, I could just tab out now and show like the LILLIA boards what I'm talking about. Let's go stats. It's a little bit later than usual, but you know, it's okay. So in terms of stats, right? When you're playing around LILLIA, right? Typically you're playing either 2 Invoker or 4 Invoker. Those are like the 2 main things. A 2-star LILLIA it still averages very well. And obviously when you have the Nautilus, it's very nice, right? If you have 2 Invoker, I think it averages like this. And then 4 Invoker, I think averages a little bit better if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 4 Invoker averages a little bit better. The thing with 4 Invoker is that Shojin is really bad on LILLIA when it's 4 Invoker. And a lot of times you get stuck with Shojin, right? It's just the way that mana works. When you do an attack, you gain 5 mana. So based on the item, like, you know, for example, with Shojin, you get an extra 5 mana, but it starts you with plus 15 mana. So LILLIA, it works out better because like the way that Invoker works is it also gives you a little bit of mana, and you're trying to time your cast to be perfectly so that when you gain mana, you don't like hit an exact threshold right when you cast, right? So with LILLIA, when you're for Invoker, because of the extra mana that the Invoker gives you, it makes Spear of Shojin like just not perfectly align with when her cast timing is, based on like granting 5 bonus mana as well as with the 15 starting mana. So it's kind of like a wasted auto each time. So she has to attack like 1 extra time to actually cast, as opposed to blue buff, because blue buff just reduces the max mana by 10. And then also gives you bonus damage as well as gives you 20 starting mana. It just works out that this aligns perfectly with when LILLIA hits her exact cast threshold. And that's why with 4 Invoker, it's typically blue buff. And then 2 Invoker, it used to always be Shojin if you're playing a 2 Invoker variation. But now Shojin, just the damage amp from blue buff, even though it doesn't align perfectly, it's starting to average better in the stats, right? You can see that like even with 30,000 games, it's like it's doing a little bit better than Shojin. Right, I think the better item now is Adaptive Helm, right? So when you're playing 2 Invoker, you should try and make Adaptive Helm. This is something that's new to me. Before, Adaptive Helm wasn't even in the market, but apparently the way Adaptive Helm gives you mana, it works better with 2 Invoker, I think. So now I think you make Adaptive Helm instead of Shojin. But that's just a separate thing. That's like a little how-to know, like a little how-to. Typically with LILLIA, you're playing many different variations, right? I've had multiple LILLIA videos. I suggest you check out the other videos to see other variations. For this sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to show you the variation that I'm kind of aiming for, because eventually I hit a Mythic +1. And if you hit a Mythic +1, basically you're just playing Vertical Mythic at that point, right? Because when you're playing Vertical Mythic, as you can see here, you can play all of these units, right? And you're going to be 6 Mythic out of 7. Right, Kog'Maw and LILLIA gives you 2 Invoker, so you basically just play 2 Invoker with these. Actually, you can play 4 Invoker with this line. So typically what you do is you do this, then you play an Alawi, right? Alawi gives you Arcanist as well as Warden. You're just playing the Tahm Kench because he's a good frontline unit when you're playing 7 Mythic. And then typically your Mythic holder is Annie, and then you usually just play like Azir, right? And this is like your level 9 board, right? So you usually go level 9 for Mythic, and you put the Mythic emblem on the Annie typically. Right, so I'm trying to find a Mythic emblem. Here we go. Annie, if you read her ability, it scales off of her HP, right? She heals HP based on her max HP, and then her Tibbers deals with her basically scales with like her max HP, right? And then her passive heal is also based on her max HP. Mythic, it will give you basically a percentage boost in HP, right? You basically, if you're 7 Mythic, you gain 25% HP as well as a bunch of AP, so it works really well with Annie because her damage as well as her passives as well as her general scaling all works with HP, right? So it works really nicely. This board, as you can see though, you're playing 4 Invokers, so then you usually want to make blue buff for LILLIA, but you can play it as 2 Invoker because you can also just choose to not play the Annie, and you can pretty much play any generic units, right? I kind of put in these 2 extra Invokers with the Alawi, but you can literally play anybody, right? You can synergize with Tahm Kench and you can play like a Sylas, right? Or a Galio or anything. It's very flexible, right? Even if you're playing like towards this line, you play like Azir, you can also just play a frontline unit like an Ornn. And this is what I mean by LILLIA is very flexible. It's because there's many different variations, even within like the simple variations like this, where you're just playing 7 Mythic, there is like a best board, right? And I'm not saying that your average placement is going to be higher doing something else, but you can save a lot of HP by just playing upgraded units, right? Even before then, if you have a Mythic +1, or if you're just playing around 5 Mythic, right, on level 8, you could basically play like a lot of different frontline units, a lot of different backline units, right? So for example, like one variation is you can play Umbral with Elune and LILLIA, right? Because it's synergized with the Sylas, and you could play something like this on level, and if you have like a Mythic +1, then you could play like the 4 Invoker as well, right? And have something that synergizes something like this, right? You probably switch out Nico for Tahm Kench for Bruiser, right? But you have like many different styles of variations that you can play that still work out really nicely with this LILLIA board, and that's why I kind of like it. You'll see this game that I'm basically just playing around. Oh, we missed an important carousel. This is why I don't like doing it early. I usually like waiting a little bit. Let's just watch this carousel. I'll skip back a little bit. I don't want to make the VOD too inflated in terms of its size. Here, it turned out into like a support item carousel, which kind of sucks for me because I'm not first pick, so I don't get to like pick the perfect item. The only one that's really useful, Virtue of the Martyr is really good because I have a lot of HP. This treasure chest is sometimes good, and Zeke's is sometimes good. But for me especially, like, I'd rather just make... So I made, like, a guard breaker just because of my item economy. I didn't know what to make, right? But I'd gladly take the cleaver here because I don't have shred. Like, I'm probably going to lose this Kale eventually if I'm playing towards LILLIA, which I think I am now. I'm not really committed to Storyweaver because I got Combat Caster, and Combat Caster is really good with pretty much every comp. It's like the most generic, really strong gold augment. But it's not like... I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like obscenely broken. It's more like, you know, it's good on everybody, but it's not like broken on everybody, right? It's broken on like Duelist, I think. But like the other units, it's like not insanely broken, but it's always good. I got a what's it called? I got this cleaver basically does shred and sunder. So now I don't have to worry about shred and sunder. It's a little bit inefficient this turn, but I didn't want to take the other options because Zeke's is a little bit situational, and so is the other one, the unstable treasure chest. Treasure chest actually might be good with LILLIA because usually you want a lot of items with LILLIA boards. That's like the big con with LILLIA is that you need to itemize LILLIA, a secondary carry because LILLIA doesn't do as much if she's just a solo carry unless you're 7 mythic. And then you need to itemize like a frontline unit as well. And we found a LILLIA, isn't that cool? Guardbreaker is also really strong on LILLIA. Just in general, because like there's a lot of people that will have shields, and then because she does AoE, she just always procs Guardbreaker and does like a shit ton of damage. I think it's one of her best items if I'm not mistaken. We'll double check in the stats, just to show you guys that I'm not like lying, and also to double check me. Always check your work. Items. Yeah, here we go. There you go, Guardbreaker. I just put LILLIA in. Guardbreaker is really good. Obviously, like Manazine, and some of these are very situational, like Crown Guard with only 200 games, like, you know, and Runans with like 300. If you put up to like 1,000 games and you put like craftables, right? You always want Shiv, right? Shiv, red buff. These are all really good because she spreads to a lot of units, and then Guardbreaker is like one of her best items, right? And this is what I was saying. I think Adaptive Helm just works out better. So I feel like you should always prio Adaptive Helm on her as her mana item. And like, I think now it's kind of worked out like that. Because then you don't... it still says Adaptive Helm blue buff. Is this some like weird shit? I wish I can like get rid of stuff. Like if I do Adaptive Helm and then I do Shiv. What does it say her best item is? Oh, it doesn't show all the games. Jewel Gauntlet. It's a little bit awkward. Maybe it's not a Adaptive Helm. But I know the Shojin now is like looking like not as good on her. Right? But we'll see. I don't know enough about it. I have to like research it myself. Maybe do some math. Just know, like, that's the only update from the last LILLIA video. Also, Crab Rave, bunch of gold. Everybody's gonna have really strong boards. Here, I find a spatula, so I can easily make a mythic emblem. The problem is, it's like item economy here is my problem, right? I would love to play blue buff and then also have a mythic emblem. So I'm reforging the bow because I don't necessarily need it, and I get a belt. So now I can make perfect items here if I make Sunfire, Shojin, Mythic Emblem, and then I have everything dealt with, right? Instead of like waiting to slam items, because now I can make the Mythic spat right away and I get 5 Mythic, right? So, you know, I had blue buff. Blue buff would have been better on my LILLIA, but this is an example of like item economy. Right, the Mythic Spat, because I got dropped the Spat, is a little bit better in this situation particularly. Because even though it's 4 Invoker, and remember I showed you 4 Invoker with Mythic, it's not that great if you have Shojin. I showed you the stats already on it. I know it's not ideal, but the thing is, it's like, how do I phrase it? If I was greeting too much and then I don't get this Mythic Spat, I'm pretty sure that like the Mythic variation is a lot stronger, especially in this spot. Because this cleaver item is also very good on Hui. It's pretty good on Azir as well. Lucky Gloves is really good with LILLIA. Baboom, I don't know how good it is with LILLIA. I'm gonna double check the stat. Let's go LILLIA 7 mythic. And let's double check. This is more like a learning experience for me. I know it's gonna be a little bit of a heavy video. Baboom, it's good. It says that it's fine. Right? Let's see. Typically Lucky Gloves is a little bit better though, right? just because of item economy, I think. Yeah, see, Lucky Gloves is good. Or Lucky Gloves Plus is pretty good. The reason that Lucky Gloves is so good is because there's so many units you have to itemize. So like being able to like slam an item on another unit, like a frontline unit, it makes it so much better. But we are in a pretty high item galaxy, which means that Lillia is fine, right? Because of Crab Rave and extra loot, I feel like I don't think it gives you extra components, it just gives you like extra gold a lot of the time. But just in terms of like what item drops there were, like we had like the encounter carousel, so I have this extra damage item basically, or extra item dealt with, right? Because if you look at it, I have 3 items on Annie, because this mythic item, giving Annie mythic is basically like giving her like a giga item. And I have 3 items on Lillia already, and we haven't even hit birds yet, right? So I definitely have enough items to support the rest of my team. So Lucky Gloves isn't like the most broken thing to take. And as you can see here, I hit an early Azir, and this is what I mean by different variations. Yes, I'm 5 Invoker, you know, you can laugh all you want, whatever. The problem is I'm not really switching out anybody because this guy's Mythic, and I found an Azir. As you can see, I'm playing, there's another Lillia that's playing towards Mythic. I'm rolling because I just need to find upgrades, like all my units are 1-starred. Even though I don't have unit pairs, it might not be that good to roll, but I'm expected to lose a lot of fights. I just have this Annie that I can upgrade towards. Here I'm trying to shield my my Azir a little bit. That's why I put the Janna up front. And yes, I'm 5 Invoker, so I can definitely drop Janna for a frontline unit. It's probably drop Janna for Sylas, honestly. It's Sylas or this over Janna for sure. It's just Janna's upgraded. Yeah, that's the mistake. I was wondering why it looks so bad. Because I'm like, usually you don't run into 5 Invoker as a problem. Because usually the Invokers you're like forced to play. Right? I should definitely drop Janna. Oh, I'm gonna sell Sylas. Oh, yuck. Don't sell Sylas. Oh. I have a Tahm Kench. Just play Sylas. I should have just played Sylas. I think more frontline is fine here. I think... it's hard to say. I have so much frontline is the problem. Is there like a backline unit I can play? I should be trying to fit in Exalted, right? Because I have Azir in. And I have, like, Azir's Exalted. That's the hard part to hit. I don't know. It's probably Bow, even though it's a 1 cost. Yeah, it's Bow because it's a 1 cost. I should try and fit in Exalted. The problem is, like, I have 2 upgraded frontline units and I have no upgraded backline units. So even though it's probably better to put in Sylas to synergize with Tahm Kench or put in a Warden to synergize with this, it's like I probably just need I need damage dealer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know if I want mythic stacks on the Nico, but I don't even know if Nico's the right answer here. I just seldom make econ. Oh god. The problem is my upgrades, right? Like I don't want to drop a Tahm Kench 2 for a Alawi 1, but here the correct answer is to switch Tahm Kench for Alawi a lot of the time, because the extra mythic doesn't matter, but the Alawi will give me Arcanist, which will give me a little bit of AP. And remember I was just talking about how I need a little bit of more damage because all my backline carries are 1-star. Oh, this guy's like 6 Umbral. He just got, because he got dropped the Umbral spat. So this guy's a little bit awkwardly strong. I beat him anyways, that's fine. As you can see, this Annie's a beast, right? Annie is just so good, especially, I think Annie's good in general, but especially with the mythic spat. I know her items are really shit, right? Typically with Annie, you want like, what's the best item on Annie? I forget. I think it's like Protector's Vow or something. You want like some kind of giga item on her. Everybody's like, look, this guy has like 6 Lillias. Like, or sorry, he has like 3 Lillias and he's duplicating one and he hit a Hue. I'm a little bit behind in terms of like my board versus other Lillia boards, right? Like this guy's holding Lillias and has a Nautilus upgrade. This guy's gonna pivot probably to Lillia if he can get it. This guy's definitely just playing towards like Mythic straight up. Is he also playing 10 Mythic? What happened to this guy? This guy took a Mythic crown, but I think his Gold Orb drop didn't give him a Mythic. Like, he didn't get a spat off his Gold Orb drop, so he's not 10 Mythic, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I'm just going to lose against this guy. He has way too much damage, right? He already has a Hue with an item, and he has double item on Lillia. I don't know why he doesn't have 3-item Lillia, and he put 1 item on Hue. Maybe he just found the Hue early, and he was itemizing the Hue. It's kind of awkward. Yeah, the lobby is very strong, and because this guy's holding so many Lillias, the chances are I'm not going to hit the Lillia that I need. But I need to go to level 9 so I can fit in one more mythic, right? If I just level up and I put in 7 mythic, I'm pretty good. I should also try and fit in exalted. Yeah, so what was I saying with Annie items? I want to see what the best... There was like some item I remember in the past that was like giga broken on Annie. Arcane? This is Arcane. It's not Arcane. Is it Adaptive Helm? It's probably Adaptive Helm. I know it's Spark. Oh, it's Crown Guard and Adaptive Helm. Oh, yeah. And Protectors. They're actually all good. All the ones I was thinking of were good. Yeah, it's like Crown Guard, but it's Adaptive Helm. Oh, yeah. Fully Adaptive Annie was a monster. Okay, I think that's what I was thinking of. Fully Adaptive Annie. There was some tech I remember I found. Anyways, because we have 4 Invoker, our LILLIA damage is a little bit awkward, but it's not that bad. This guy's like 6 Dryad, and he had this Ornn early, and he had Dryad stacks early. This is going to be a problem, right? In terms of how much frontline this guy has and how much damage he has. But we have this Azir, 3 items on Azir, so that's okay. It's pretty good. Annie's a beast, as you can see. I wish I had something better than Sunfire Cape on her, but I'm just going to get washed by this guy. Already level 9. Jeweled Lotus, so he has Prismatic Combat as well. So I don't even have that advantage over him. And just full board, right? I remember being like a 3-way contest for LILLIA as well. Yeah, this guy hit LILLIA too. I don't know if this is the guy that was holding the LILLIAs though. I forget. Here I find a Cho'Gath. It's good enough, right? I could have leveled and played Bard as well. The 7 Mythic spike is just really big because as you can see, like, I just need the Mythic units to be strong, right? As strong as possible. Everybody kind of hit their carries. I'm still playing with the LILLIA 1. A lot of this time, this is like a go bot 4 situation. But with 7 Mythic spike and Annie 2, like, my board is kind of okay. My augments are also very good, right? I have double combat. Right, I know the silver isn't a combat, but silver combats are usually the weakest of them. So it's not that bad if somebody else has like a better combat. Like this guy's triple combat, this guy's double combat as well. So we're like pretty even in terms of like our augments. My positioning is awful, by the way, because this Ashe is like literally like the best place for her. I just clutch it out. I should have lost this fight, but you know I kind of messed up. That's on me. 8 free rerolls is great. I already leveled to 9. Would have loved it last turn though, but it's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm basically looking for a Hui, right? 7 Mythic Hui does a shit ton of damage, so it's probably even better than Azir, to be honest, because the 4 Invoker doesn't matter that much to me. I can just play 3 Invoker and just swap out a Hui. I find a LILLIA 2, which is pretty high roll. I'm kind of down, but I think this guy was holding Lilias and died, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. I remember somebody dies that was holding a bunch of Lilias, but maybe I just happened across it. But it's totally fine. And then I don't know if I missed something else. Did I miss like a Hui? I don't think so. But yeah, we're kind of committed to this line. We're not playing like the Sage variation with Morgana. I think that variation became a little bit weaker now, in terms of just like damage output. But it's okay. I still have Nautilus 1, but because basically if you look at this game, I've been playing so much around this Ornn. And Ornn doesn't necessarily fit into the LILLIA board, but as you can see, it synergizes pretty nicely. I'm just playing this Cho'Gath for now. Behemoth isn't that important on Ornn. I know that Cho'Gath gives me Behemoth and it might look like everything's perfect, but it's not that important. This guy's very strong, by the way. Irelia with the Umbral Spat. Silas with Diamond Hands. Right? Like, holy shit. But it should still be like top 4able. And that's the thing with LILLIA, right? I didn't necessarily high roll. Yes, I found a LILLIA very early. And I found a Nautilus very early. But the lobby was quite strong, right? There's this guy that's just full streaking the game. I think this guy, who's 24 HP, is the guy that had LILLIA 2 early. As well as a Hui early. And he's just duplicating Lilias for like, I don't know what reason. But I'm fairly stable, right? Double combat. This is why I always prio combat augments. When if I didn't hit a prismatic combat, I think it's a bot 4 for sure, right? Whenever you're playing against other boards, right? If everybody has a board built, like if everybody has a board, like I have this LILLIA board where I don't have particularly bad matchups unless it's like Reapers or something like that, right? But either way, I have a board here, right? This board, I'm debating if I drop Azir here. I should check how much health it gives Ornn. How much health was that? Let me see. How much health do I lose from Dryad? I'm curious to see if this is the right decision. Because Wei does so much damage. It's like 300 HP. 300 HP for a Hui 1. Oh, gosh. And then I could just play somebody else. I play Warden. I put Heavenly Spat. Oh, this is... I don't know if that's the right decision. I don't know. 300 HP for this guy. It was probably lose Kog'Maw, I think, right? It's just because I want the items on Hui. These items are really good on Hui. But I do want 4 Invoker, right? I'm pretty sure. I can also fit in Exalted, but that's a little bit difficult. My Annie's a beast, so... this is against a clone, though, so I probably would have lost anyways. What is it? It's like Shen, Nautilus, Azir. I put in Shen, and then I need Azir. Oh, I remember this game. I made like a big mistake. Like I thought that I can fit in Exalted with Hui, and I sold the Azir, but I should have just played Shen earlier. It's just too many units. It's just too awkward to fit in everything. The Invoker doesn't matter that much. I think 4 Invoker is nice for Annie to help her cast a little bit because she doesn't get mana. But I don't think it's essential. Okay, this is the Reaper guy. This theoretically should be my worst matchup. But he only has 2 items on Yone. And he has 3 items Elune. So I feel pretty comfortable because Elune's never going to hit my back row. Because Elune hits the row with the most amount of HP. And because I have Mythic Annie, she's always going to be hitting the Annie. So my LILLIA gets spared for most of the fight, as you can see. Yeah, so I just win out. If I had a more backline, then the LILLIA is a little bit scarier. But because I'm 7 Mythic variation, my front line just has too much HP. So the Elune never snipes the backline. If it was 3-item Yone 3, for example, then the Yone can snipe the backline. That's usually why the matchup is bad. Is it Crab Rave? I think I lose against the Crab as well. Ooh, Exalted, and I lose Ornn too. Okay, this doesn't seem right. Oh, I don't think this one's right. I don't think this is it. Heavenly for more HP with the other dude. Bro, I think I lose against this Crab because I switched my board. I'm fairly certain. Oh god. Okay, so this was just a mistake. I switched my board on a neutral round. I should have played my strongest board. I was like trying to think what's stronger, and I put in this board, and I can tell by looking at it I'm gonna lose it. Oh, I'm so dumb. I think I beat Crab with the other board. It would have been close, but Annie's such a tank. As long as I had a little bit extra. Protector's Vow and Nautilus is pretty good. Just help him to cast, right? As you can see, we made it to like a top 3. But I outlived both the other Mythic players. And that's what I mean. A lot of times, it just comes down to HP. And it just comes down to like working on having like a really strong board for like a lot of these earlier encounters, right? These earlier fights. Obviously, I don't have a Hui 2. I think if I have a Hui 2, it's better. This is better. This is stronger. I should not be fucking around here. I'm pretty sure Exalted doesn't matter here. And just having the extra front line, especially against a Syndra player that doesn't have backline access, I'm pretty sure just having one extra front line unit is better here. Okay, this guy's just so strong. I don't see myself beating this guy. Ever. Is this a clone? I don't even think this is real. Is it his real? Holy shit. Yeah, I just got washed. Yeah, I think the losing to Crab was the problem here. Because I don't think I ever beat this guy. And I don't know if I beat the other guy. Oh, this is the Kaisa player. Oh, this is risky. I don't know if I beat this guy. I might have beat this guy, though. I might have beat this guy. Because his front line's pretty shit, right? Look at his front line. Like, besides this Udyr, he has no front line. He has, like, a Warden-ass bullshit front line. Oh, that was a lose to Crab diff. Sag. That's my bad. I was too busy trying to figure out the board. And I wasn't thinking about, like, what was strongest that turn. I forgot that I had to, like, fight the Crab. Yeah. Look, this guy, he's going for, like, a Mumu 3 with, like, a Kaisa board. Like, I'm pretty sure I beat this guy. His front line's pretty shit. It's just if he out DPSs me and kills my LILLIA in the back line. But I'm 7 Mythic LILLIA, so my LILLIA's pretty tanky because she gains a lot of HP. This guy I don't think I ever beat. He's just way too far ahead, way too strong. Right? He has double combat. as well as stim pack, so he has a bunch of extra items. TG set 2, 3 item Azir 2, 2 item set 2. He has an Ornn with items, 3 item this, 3 item this, Shiv, and an extra front line like with Zizirot. It's like, bro, like how could I, like that's far ahead. And 6 Dryad as well. It's like, bro, this guy I might have been able to beat. So best I could have placed was second. So I did pretty good for myself, right? If you look, this is what I was talking about. This LILLIA player was the one that died, and then I hit LILLIA too, so I was right. It was a 3-way contest. This guy was so far ahead of me, but I'm pretty sure he just doesn't have combat augments, right? Like, he's Young, Wild, and Free, Pandora's, and then items, right? He took the item augment, so he might have just got unlucky and just didn't hit anything good. But this was just unfortunate for this guy. And this guy too also didn't have any combat. So for me that had double combat, that's the only reason I was able to keep up with this guy, as well as some of these other guys that had like really strong augment combinations, right? But anyways, that was like a 7 mythic, very run-of-the-mill game. There wasn't anything particularly to write home about, but it's just another LILLIA game that you can look at and use an example, right? I'm playing a lot more LILLIA these days just because it's the only board that I kind of have fun with, that you have options, that doesn't feel very rigid and feel like a hard force on 2-1. But just always be ready, right? Look, I played Ornn for most of this game, and Ornn isn't necessarily a LILLIA unit that you normally play, but a lot of like my testament to doing really well was playing around having such a strong front line that I was able to like save a lot of HP even though I had LILLIA 1. And then by the time I hit LILLIA 2 with my combat augments, I was just stronger than a lot of the players in the lobby, and it just worked out. It worked out really nicely for me. Anyways, thank you for watching. And I hope you enjoyed this. Video. Also, for those of you that are curious, I'll talk about like the sub goal in a little bit. It'll be probably next week. I'll mention it more tomorrow. I'm just really busy today. See ya.